I solemnly swear that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Ron here from The Truth About Addiction. Another glorious day in the Sunshine Coast where I am, and wherever you may be, welcome. Today's guest is a chap called Nick Midgley. Nick's ex-fighter, trains fighters, recovering addict, alcoholic, but Nick can tell his story. But yeah, look, very pleased to have you on, Nick. Welcome, mate.
Nah, thanks for having me on, man. Much appreciated, man.
So tell us the Nick Midgley story, brother.
Mate, I mean, it's pretty extensive, man. In the short time we got, essentially, man, I grew up in Melbourne. Mate, grew up with good parents, but both had their own shit going on. And, I had a mother that was abducted and molested at a really young age, and she had stuff come up later on in life, and so, my memories of my mother was an incredible, beautiful, intimate mother. And then she just emotionally shut off. And, as a result, I didn't realize at the time, but what I know now is, I suffered a huge abandonment, trauma from that state, and had an amazing father in terms of as a provider, but just also a really absent one, So I just grew up with no boundaries. And what we do as boys, we look for older role models, and I found them in all the wrong places, and associated with a lot of drug dealers and a lot of people that were doing things that I shouldn't have been doing, and they had no place doing. And mate, essentially, I found myself in a really bad spot. At 13, I was doing IV heroin, and held the habit off until I was about 15. But at 15, kicked out of home, living in the Gatwick at one point with a couple of guys, and just thinking, what the fuck am I doing here? Just absolutely no place there. And mate, pretty much, from the day that I actually got a habit, I wanted to get clean because I didn't want to feel the way I was feeling, essentially, man. And once I found heroin, I wanted that in my life until I couldn't get off it, and then once I couldn't get off it, I tried everything to sort of break that pattern. And mate, essentially, it took me 22 years to find what I've got now, and it's such a mixture of different things, different ideas, different concepts, different philosophies I've taken from so many different people and places, experiences and mentors. And, I've developed something really special for myself that keeps myself clean. And, I've also opened up a drug and alcohol treatment centre in Northern New South Wales, where I help other people get clean and sober, and I mentor other people, frontline, so straight off the streets, who don't want to do rehab or can't afford to do rehab. And mate, I work with them on one-on-one, and I love it.
Yeah. That's pretty special, mate. So you grew up in Melbourne?
Yeah.
Did you learn to fight in Melbourne? Is that where you started boxing, or?
Yeah, I started boxing in Melbourne, so I had a few of my amateur fights down in Melbourne, but I had all my pro fights up here. Well, I mean, I had a couple of pro fights in Melbourne as well, but I trained for all my pro fights up here.
Yeah, I grew up in Melbourne too. I trained in Melbourne as well. I trained with a guy called Ambrose Palmer.
Oh yeah, nice.
He was Johnny Femishin's trainer.
Yeah.
And we trained out at Festival Hall in Melbourne. My old man was a fight trainer, and so I grew up in the boxing my whole life. And I did a podcast with Johnny Lewis.
Oh, lovely, mate.
I've known John my whole life. John's like my godfather. He calls me little brother. I went to Vegas with him and watched Fennec fight Azuma Nelson.
Yeah.
Back in the day, that's a long time ago. I was in early recovery. Yeah, I went over there and so, from being an IV heroin user to being a boxing person, it's a different world altogether. And you were trying to manage them both, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, look, as a fighter, I wasn't the most disciplined fighter, mate, and made a lot of I needed to box, or I needed to train, just really train. I needed to do something just to sort of like escape myself, like just the exact same reason I took drugs, like that's why I trained, and boxing was a good outlet for that. Essentially trained myself because I couldn't be told what to do, and I was undisciplined, and I'd sabotage my fights like a couple of weeks out of fights, and I'd party and be shooting up coke fucking 2-3 weeks out of my fights, and so when I'm going to the fight, like I wouldn't put the expectation on myself, or I could always use the excuse, well, fuck, I didn't prepare anyway, and so look, I have to live with that today, and not that I was ever anything fucking fantastic, but like I definitely butchered a couple of opportunities that I know I could have gotten. I live with that, and it's not in a punishing way for myself, but just in a way that I'll make sure I never do that in any aspect of my life again. Like in my work life, my relationship life, whatever. Like I really show up, and I don't half commit to things anymore.
I know exactly what you're saying. I believe addiction's a form of self-abuse.
Yeah.
There's no difference between someone slashing up, and us shooting up.
Yeah.
We're just doing it internally.
Yeah.
I've said it for a long time. I've been in recovery now since 1981. It's a long fucking time. I read somewhere, what year you born? 84?
84, yeah.
You know what I mean? So fucking hell, yeah. Generations apart, mate, but the story's the same. I love fighting. I needed to train. I still need to train. I'm 68 years of age, nearly 69. I still need to train. I still need to do something. I have to have some discipline in my life, because when I was a using addict, I had no discipline whatsoever. I did whatever my brain told me, I did it.
Yeah.
It was insane, stupid stuff. Stuff that you can't, when you have a clear head and you have recovery, you look back and you think, I can't believe I fucking listened to that brain.
Yeah, mate, that reaction of thoughts, like just thinking all your thoughts are facts and just reacting off your thoughts, rather than like, pulling back and sort of like, and properly assessing things and actually seeing where you're at. Like, fuck, it's so dangerous, because especially when you're in addiction, you spend most of your time desperate. So when you're having desperate thoughts and you're reacting off those desperate thoughts, like, like you do crazy things, and that's the thing that people don't understand about addiction. Like, unless you're sort of in there too, it's hard to judge. Like you need to know what it's like to be in those desperate states.
That's why we're doing what we're doing now, mate. That's why we're doing what we're doing now, honestly. Because when I made this podcast up, I said it was to educate and to entertain. I want people to know that I'm a human being first, a man second, and I'm an addict third.
Yeah.
But when I was using, I only thought I was an addict. I forgot that I was a human. I forgot that I was a male.
Yeah.
So I became an animal. So the human side was gone. The male side had gone, because my concept of a man was really messed up as a kid, because I grew up in the streets of Fitzroy. And I grew up on the water side. So men down there slapped their wives, fucked their mates' girls, and shot each other. And that's not what a man. That's not what a man is. That's not a, That's not and to me, if people say to me about gangsters today, I laugh and say, somebody goes and puts 40 to 60 hours a week work and puts food on the table, that's a gangster.
Yeah, 100%.
Somebody walks in their house and their kids run to them, that's a gangster.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I had to learn all that too, man. I had a real distorted view of what masculinity was as well. Like I said, from having an absent father, I look for all that, had to be a man from all the wrong people. And, the same thing, all the people that role modeled that to me were the ones that beat their wives and kids and all that stuff. And now I see that really today, you see how much men struggle today. I think the suicide rate's 7 times higher than for men.
We've got a heart of gold and a head of spaghetti.
Yeah, man.
Most addicts I know have got a heart of gold, and they've got a head of spaghetti, and I've had the misfortune of spending a lot of time in prison over the years. I went back to prison at 16 years clean. Did an 8-year lag, 16 years clean. And I was lucky enough that I went to a prison in Queensland where they believed in rehabilitation. The GM up there, general manager, gave me a whole unit to run a rehab. It's fucking unheard of, and a lot of guys that went through that rehab with me stayed clean while they were with me, and then they didn't maintain it. And then what happened was a few of them topped themselves. A few of them have been killed by the coppers, and a few of them are back there doing life laggers, and I always say to them, it's a choice. At the end of the day, it's still a choice. Once you have the information, and that's their job. My job is to give information. I'm a transformation coach. What I try to do is transform your thinking. So the man can't shoot, root, and electrocute. No, a man can be shot, can be electrocuted, but I'm not going to be rooted. But anyway, that's just me. Some people like it. That's just me. I believe that whatever a man wants to be, he can be, as long as he's being loving, kind, forgiving. And I really believe that man today is someone who's soft, vulnerable, caring, still the protector, still the provider.
Yeah, man.
But he has to be the nurturer as well. It's not just my wife's job to nurture my children.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I got in my car on Saturday to leave. I was going to a car show. And we had the babysitter over, and the wife and I were going. This is what I call recovery. I got a little 8-year-old boy. I love him. He's my whole world. I have lots of kids, but he's my little boy. I started my car up, and he ran to the wire door, and he yelled out, "Dad, Dad!" I said, "Yeah, mate, what's the matter?" He goes, "You haven't kissed me goodbye." I said, "I'm not going yet, mate. I'm just warming the car up." And I walked back in. I said, "I never leave without kissing you." That's gangster.
Yeah, man.
When my old man started his car, I think, wish he'd fucking die, this cunt, when he leaves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, at an 8-year-old boy, I was, wishing my old man wouldn't come home. As an 8-year-old boy, he's running out screaming, "You didn't kiss me goodbye, Dad." And that's what I believe recovery's given me. Recovery's given me the ability to be vulnerable, to be present, to be nurturing, to be kind, to be soft. Because where I grew up, and you've come in the generation after, you've still probably got a lot of the same thing. My old man, if he hit me and I cried, then he'd beat me for crying. I'll give you something to cry about, you cunt. You know what I mean? That was his exact words. And if you'd say, "Can I go out?" He'd say, "No." I'd say, "Why?" "Don't fucking ask me why, because I said." Now, the information that's been passed down through the generations was so distorted and so wrong, and we are starting to slowly fix it up. I think we are. People like yourself, and the social media is we're reaching people now, Nick, where we can say, "Hey, listen, it's okay."
Yeah.
You got a couple of tattoos, I'm the same. Before, when you had tattoos, no one used to talk to me. No one even. I used to walk along the beach, mate, and people used to pull their kids away from me.
Yeah.
Because I've had a bodysuit for 100 years, and when I got them, it was only bad guys got tattoos. Now my daughter's got nearly as much tattoos as me.
Yeah.
And one owns a nanny service, and the other one's a fucking nurse. Runs a drug rehab. And they're soft, beautiful, sweet kids who went to private schools.
Yeah.
So we're getting out of that stereotyping. If you got tattoos, you're a bad motherfucker. You're a gangster. But I remember, tattoos didn't mean that once. But in some ways, I think they were a way, for me, a way of saying, "Stay away from me."
Yeah.
It was to push people away. It was to push people away. It was like, I'm a bad motherfucker, stay away from me, because I was so scared. I was such a afraid little boy. I'd fight anybody. I could do any crime, but I was an emotional coward. So hard to.
It's funny you say that too, man, because I got called out. Like when I got clean this time, all my shit came out publicly, mate. And because of that, like I wanted to neck myself because just not because I couldn't rebuild, because I've done that before, but because my ego was like, man, fuck, all the shame of using and stuff like, I want to neck myself. And mate, and I saw one of my mentors, and mate, and he sat me down, and he said, "Mate, I want to work with you, but only when you stop being full of shit." I go, "Fucking what? Who the fuck you talking to? Like, no one talked to me like that." And he's going, mate, you're full of muscles, you're full of steroids, you got the shaved head, you're full of fear, and you're full of shit. And I was going, fuck, you know.
Yeah.
And mate, I got all reactive just because of the way he spoke to me. Deep down, I knew he was right. Like at the end of the day, like I built this bravado, this fucking all these fronts. Because I also remember what it was like as a 14-year-old, you know, living in the Gatwick, seeing someone get filleted up in the fucking top story of the Gatwick, and I was too scared to use the fucking communal bathroom downstairs, so I'd be pissing in bottles and stuff like that. I didn't want to leave the room, and you know, getting my one meal a day at the Salvation Army mission, and you know, and sitting, you know, I didn't know where to sit, you know, because it was, you know, full of homeless people, working girls, you know, drug addicts and stuff like that, and I had no place being in there, man. I was just a fucking kid. And so all this bravado started from that. It got so convincing for myself. I thought I was that. And because I just emotionally shut off, I convinced myself that I was fucking all that. At the core of it, it all started from fear, you know, and and I had this guy take me through the whole process, this instant shadow work process with me where he fucking brought me back to it. I was like, fuck, you know, like, yeah, this guy's seen me, man. Like, fuck. I ended up working with him for years, and you know, not just, you know, just moving through so much of my shit, you know. And but today I don't have to live with any of that. Man, people see what I post on Facebook now that all my stuff's out, and I know there's some people, you know, they talk shit or whatever, mate. But at the end of the day, like, I know being authentic and being vulnerable and being seen for who you are is one of the most courageous things that you can do. I'm not trying to bridge up either, but if 100 people call me soft, I still even pushing 40, I still back myself to be able to knock out 95% of them. So you can't use softness and authenticity and vulnerability as a way to define a weak man. Because like I always say, like, one of the easiest things to do in life is to be yourself, but one of the hardest things in life is to do it for the very first time. You know, the very first time when you're fucking shitting all the fucking masks, all the bravados, and you're like, fuck, this is actually me. These are my fucking insecurities, and these are the things that fucking worry me. These are the things I'm scared of, all this shit.
Yep.
But once you openly communicate that, it connects with people relate to it, you know, and some people gravitate to you, and they start building really authentic relationships with people, and for the first time ever, you know, and fuck, it's incredible and so easy to do, just being yourself. You know, once you actually do it, you're just like, fuck it. Why didn't I do this earlier? It's fucking so hard to keep the fucking image up, the warts and all, scars and all sort of guy, you know.
Mate, honesty is the best policy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, honest, to me, I'm the most honest crook I've ever met.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
My last court case, I was 16 years clean. And I got in the box and tried to convince the jury that I was innocent. I couldn't even do it.
Yeah.
Couldn't even, because I'd been clean for 16 years. I'd been around the program for 21 years at that stage.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd been in recovery, and I'd found a higher power, and I couldn't, you know, I just couldn't bullshit myself anymore. I couldn't bullshit to somebody else. Where usually I'm really good at bullshitting.
Yeah.
And you know, I live off 8 demands, Nick. I've got these things that I run a program myself that I've been running for a long, long time. But see those 8 demands there?
Yep.
Openness, acceptance, reliability, congruence, thoroughness, consistency, respect, and honesty.
Yeah.
And the bottom, action. I take the I out of it on, I act on those demands.
Yeah.
Like being honest and open and accepting and reliable and congruent and thorough, you can't help but have a good life.
Yeah.
And I've done that in my relationship with you, with my wife, with the guy down the road that fucking washes my car.
Yeah.
To the guy that I had lunch with yesterday, who's worth $300 million. And, you know, and I've been mates with this guy for years. He's a big property developer, and him and his wife we had lunch yesterday, and he goes, "You've never changed." And we were mates before I went back to the Nick, and he stuck with me when I went to jail.
Yeah.
He goes, "At least you've never changed." He said, "You've never, ever changed." He said,
"Yeah.
You know, 30 years that we've known you," he said, "you've always been the same guy." I said, "Because it's the same principle."
And that's right. Like, I just read your list of commands. Like, what beautiful principles to live by, you know. And the thing I've noticed, like, the the principles that I had to learn through, like, recovery and different types of spiritual practices that and lineages that I started to sort of work with and stuff. When you start reading into some of the most successful businessmen out there, and you read what they actually write about, man, like they all talk about these same principles. They're successful business people. They actually are fucking honest, and they understand cooperation and stuff like that, and reliability.
And they're
Mate,
accepting, and they Mark Burris, the guy that used to own Wizard Home Loan, I think it was Wizard he owned. Yellow Brick Road, he sold it for $500 million.
Mm.
You listen to him talks about reliability, congruence, thoroughness, acceptance, respect, honesty, thoroughness, and Kerry Packer, he used to be pretty tied up with Johnny Lewis he loved Jeff Bennick, he loved the fight game.
Yeah.
And when Jeff fought Azuma Nelson, when I went over there with that, he was there. Jamie and Kerry Packer turned up, and he just talked about the same shit we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
He wasn't talking out the side of his mouth. At that stage, he was Australia's richest man.
Yeah.
Self-made. His old man left him 900 million. He died with 9 billion. It wasn't from some land that they owned up the road and they found they fucking got coal in it or something. He actually put it in business. Yeah. And he ran on really strong principles. He was a really, really strong principled guy. And I was only in early recovery. I'd come back from a relapse when I met him.
Yeah.
It was 93 when I met him. So I was about, 6-7 years clean. And I just remember thinking, this guy's like a fucking legend. And he was so down to earth, but everything was just so simple.
Yeah.
I started to realize that this is a simple program for complicated people.
100%. And, and that's the thing now, like, I mean, people always got like scared off by it because they, God talk or like spirituality and stuff, and like it's hard to comprehend. And I was one of those people to a degree. I went down this whole avenue, like, researching the science behind it, man. Like, mate, science now proves, like quantum physics now proves that our whole life, is created through consciousness. It's not these events that just happen to us, like we bring on everything. Like we're the common denominator in everything in our life. And epigenetics now proves that our whole biology, is also controlled by consciousness. So the way we fucking experience life and the way, like our level of health just determines, is all part of like, like our way of thinking. And if we're in our way of being, and if we align ourselves to good principles and we fucking do the right thing at all costs, like even when we get the temptation, quick little earn here and there, whatever, we've got the option to do that, but like all our choices carry consequences and stuff. 100%. And if we do the stuff like, we stay in line with our integrity at all costs, then mate, you can't help but have a good life, because that's what quantum physics and epigenetics now fucking proves to us, like if you just at all costs stay integral, like your life will be fucking phenomenal. I did this stuff just to learn how to live for myself, man, because I was sticking needles in my neck, fucking wanting to die, so I needed a different way out. And now, man, now I get like corporates, they hire me to speak to their teams and schools and stuff that want to sort of like adopt these principles and processes that I follow in my life now. And I'm spinning out just because they read a couple of articles that fucking a couple of newspapers or magazines wrote, or they follow me on Facebook or something. Oh, man, I just I pinch myself, go, well, how the fuck did this happen?
I did my last day with a kid just before you. A client that I've had, he's 21 years of age. I do a 30-day crash course. So I fucking hit him so hard, it's like, because I believe in a foundation. You can't build anything unless you've got a foundation.
100%.
The foundation for me is this. It's really this simple. You can't drink or drug and have a good life.
Yeah.
All the philosophical bullshit that I've learned in 43 years of being around NA and AA and fucking... And I went through all the religious stuff. I walked through fucking Bethlehem and walked the fucking path of Jesus. I read the Quran. I went to India to the ashrams. I go to Buddhist temples. I still like going to the Buddhist temples because I love the peace. I like what I feel there. Yeah. And they align with a lot of my belief systems. Thou shalt not commit harm. I spoke to my Buddhist teacher. I used to go and do a lot of teachings of a guy who became one of the lamas. He left Australia, went back to Tibet and became a lama. And he was such a lovely guy, such a funny little Tibetan man. And he said to me one day, he said, oh, we have a problem with the white ants at the commune. He said, we've got to get the exterminator in. And I said, wait a minute, I thought you weren't allowed to kill. And he started smiling. He said, for the greater good we can. I found a loophole. I thought, yeah, I can do this. Because I used to always have that. Because I used to say, if someone comes to my house to harm my children, I'm going to kill them.
Yeah.
And he'd say, you can.
Yeah.
See, because what happens is we interpret things wrongly because we think what we think we know. And then when you find out what the true meaning of that spirituality is, it's like, yeah, okay, we don't harm for no reason. We don't do things, and hurt people. But if somebody's coming to hurt you, of course you're allowed to protect yourself. Of course you're allowed to protect your children. For the greater good of the community, we can do this stuff. He said some of the greatest warriors in the world were Buddhist monks. He said, so you've got your concept wrong again. I was like, fuck, always what I think's right is not, is very rarely right. I've had to re-educate, and for me, unlearning was the hardest part.
Yeah.
Not learning.
Fuck me.
I'm intelligent. I learn quickly. I unlearn really slowly, mate.
Yeah. Well, me too, man. And now, like in my own life, sort of like adopted self-loving program that I do for myself. So I wake up really early, and I do my meditation, my little prayers, and breathwork, visualizations, gratitude, intentions. I train, I walk, and catch up with my partner for a coffee before I go to work, and all this stuff. And I've got to be really regimented with that because I've only been doing this 3 years, And if I get slack with that, take a couple of days off with that. Like my more familiar program that I had for 35 years before that ends up with me sticking fucking needles in my neck, going into psychosis, screaming down sinks, thinking fucking people are talking to me, fucking cooked, That familiar program will fucking take back over. Yeah, so that consistency, just this, just keeping a program that I just don't falter with, man.
Isn't it funny? I laugh because I got here to ask you what your drug of choice is. I don't have to ask you anymore. So you're using meth?
No, heroin and meth, man. So, man, but like heroin was my big one, right? But then I put those naltrexone implants in when they were doing those. It's an opiate blocker. But man, for me, that stopped the opiate, but like it didn't stop my behavior. So like I still needed to work out way, come up with money every day and fucking stick needles in my arm. I just had to change the drug, And so I started using meth the same way as heroin, which was fucking atrociously, man. And mate, within 10 months, that drug took me to my knees so badly. Like that's a real insidious drug. Like, I love working frontline. Like, like so in the rehab space, like I'm the one that takes the first phone calls. I'm the one that goes and fucking, meets the people and fucking, when they're in fucking dereliction and all the rest of it. And I love that stuff, But man, when you have to see people in like severe meth psychosis, there's a little while before I can actually really start working with them, and you see the torment that they're in, like, mate, like, it's really easy for people to walk past and just laugh at them and call them cooked. But when you actually experience what that's like, and like, when you feel like the whole world's turned in on you, like, fuck, man, that's a really scary place, man. Like, I still remember it clearly, man. So when every time I see it in someone else, like, fuck, it brings me back. I'm like, fuck, I'm so glad I'm not there anymore, man. Also, having been there before, I've got the empathy to be able to sort of like, fucking hold that space for the people that are in those horrors, It's huge.
Our stories are very similar. I'm a heroin addict. I started using heroin in 1974. That was my drug of choice.
Yeah.
I loved it. I fucking loved it.
Yeah.
I put guns in people's faces that took their heroin, That's just someone you love, I've never done that for a pair of shoes. I've never stuck a gun in someone's mouth and said, give me your shoes. I loved heroin, I fucking not do anything for it. I escaped from prison to get heroin. I didn't escape to run away. I escaped because I wanted to get some heroin. I wanted a shot,
Yeah.
But there was a small period where I started using meth because I wanted to have a stop for the heroin. I wanted to have a break. And I had a friend who was cooking it those days.
Yeah.
I was only on it for 3 months.
Yeah.
All my friends told me to get back on heroin. because I'd go into psychosis.
Yeah.
And I'd start yelling out, "Come and get me, you fucking dogs. I know you're out there standing on a veranda in King's Cross with a fucking handgun."
Yeah.
Screaming it. And then this is a true story. The guy that actually introduced me to recovery, that wrote me a letter while I was in prison and got me to go to rehab, he was a plumber, poor bastard. So he was in the house with me. I'm an escapee from prison. I got my girlfriend, his girlfriend, and him. We were in this terrace house, abandoned house in King's Cross. And I've gone to psychosis, and I think we're surrounded. And I said to Mark, cut a hole in the floor so we can get out, because the coppers are surrounding us, So Mark cuts a hole in the floor because he's a carpenter, he's got all the tools, and he fucks off. Him and his girlfriend piss off because I'm nuts. I get arrested a couple of days later. Now I'm already in escapee from prison. I'm in King's Cross. I'm wanted to escape from prison. I'm in King's Cross, like using meth. And so he wrote me a letter in 1980. He wrote me a letter and said, "Mate, if you put half as much effort into getting straight as you do getting stoned, you'll get this recovery thing." Really smart. There was 3 chicks in there, and he got them to start writing me letters. Because I spent half my life in prison, the chicks were really, that's what I wanted. I didn't know about recovery. I wanted chicks. Girls without penises. It was like, I'm going there. That's what got me into recovery. It's a funny story. That's what got me into recovery. A guy going there, and he never got clean. He left that rehab and never got clean, and fast forward, 43 years. I've been clean, as I said, I've been clean since 86, but I started getting clean in 81, and I had a couple of relapses in between. But meth just kills me. Like you said, if I go and do a 12-step with somebody and I'm trying to help them, I'm going to do an intervention with somebody and they're on meth. You know that it's going to be hard.
It's hard work.
It's going to be painful. They're not going to trust me. They're going to be violent. They're going to be, towards aggression. I've had to grab knives and say, you're trying to fucking kidnap me. It's like, mate, sit down. I'd come in here with a 12-gauge shotgun with a belt. And because they hear that, they go like, "Oh, okay,
they feel more comfortable with that. 100%. They need that.
They relate to that. They relate. Mate, if I was trying to kidnap you, I'd have a balaclava on. I'd have a 12-gauge shotgun, and you'd be fucking tied up now in the boot of the car. Shut the fuck up! I'm trying to save your life.
But it's crazy that we can, we accept that. We accept this way of life for so fucking long, because I remember, like, when I was 17, I got taken over by a bloke. I got taken over to Sicily for 3 years by a bloke I was knocking about with. He was 13 years older than me, but he didn't want to leave me in fucking St Kilda the way I was. He said, "Man, you're not going to fucking live to 21." He said, "Mate, come over to Sicily with me. I'll get you clean." And mate, he taught me a couple of trades, and like, mate, he worked me like a mule over there. But mate, I came back and mate, back then, like EBA rates in Victoria is like, man, I was a leading hand of a paving company at 22, and mate, making really fucking good money, and still, mate, I couldn't, so like I hadn't been arrested since I was 23, like, that was only once since I was 18. So all my troubles with the law was fucking, before I even 18, really, except for that one incident. So I just think it's like, mate, I'm all right because I can work to pay for my habit. But like, mate, like I was only, I was taking home like $2.5 grand, a week, and sometimes more. And mate, back then rent was only like $250, And mate, like I still couldn't service my car. My cars would fucking blow up. Couldn't put petrol in my car. Fucking, like. Mate, I couldn't pay bills on time. Even the fucking $250 rent was, I was late half the time. Mate, I'd get a fucking big bag of like chopped tobacco from the Victorian markets and stuff like that, and smoke that putrid shit. I still couldn't and I was still just, mate, I did that for fucking years. Before I just go, mate, I could be living such a better life, but every cent that I ever fucking made would have to go to that, you know. So, you know, no, it was all my prize. Like, man, fucking, you know, I work hard, and you know, but it's like, fuck, man, you know, like, and then watching everyone else paying off like mortgages and like, you know, and like fucking brand new utes, and you know, just fuck, you know, just crazy, absolutely crazy. Even my boss, you know, my boss knew and stuff. You know, he's like, man, what are you doing? Like, fuck, you know, like. You know, the only reason he didn't fire me probably because he felt sorry for me, and I was a good worker. You know, like I fucking, I turned up. Provided I got on before I went to work, I was a fucking good worker, mate. When people have to take a drug like heroin or ice, these sort of drugs where you literally risk your life every time you have a shot, just to change the way you feel for 5 minutes, man. Like, you know, mate, they don't need to be judged. You know, like they fucking need help, man. We as people just need to be more like, you know, empathetic to each other. We're all distracting. We're all addicted to something, mate. You know, like addiction's such a spectrum. When people start getting all judgmental and prejudiced, talking down, you know, throwing junky words around and like crackhead words around, it's like, whoa, you know, it's like, picture having your phone in your pocket, you know, all day, with all the notifications going off in your pocket, and resist the temptation to take that out of your pocket to check the notification. That's what it's like to be you know, an addict. And if an addict picks up the phone, they fuck their life up. And we need to be kind and more compassionate with each other, man. It's fucking,
100%.
you know, and people are becoming a little bit more open to something bigger, something spiritual or whatever, you know. So there's definitely a movement happening for sure. For sure.
I agree 100%. There's definitely a movement coming. It's happening. There's definitely a movement coming with people in recovery, mental health, suicide prevention, drug addiction, because now they're starting to get a voice. We found somewhere we got a voice. Where we used to recover in shame, in hiding, in little rooms in church halls and all that shit.
Yeah.
That's never been me. In the old days, you know, because I lived in that world. I still lived in the world, even though I got clean. I still lived in that world. I'd be overseas somewhere, and someone in a bar would say, "I have a drink, mate," and I say, "I don't drink." And they go, "Ah, you fucking pussy, and I have a drink," you know. And then one of my mates would say, "Mate, after he has a drink and he fucks your wife and bashes you, what are you going to say to him then?"
Yeah, 100%.
The guy would go like, "What?" You go, "Mate, he just told you he doesn't drink.
Yeah.
There's a reason he doesn't drink. We don't want to go down that road, but there's a reason he doesn't drink, you know, because years, 30 years ago, they looked at you like you were a weak guy, you know, you don't drink." And they said to me, "Are you sure you're an Aussie?" I'd be overseas, you know, with the bullshit gangsters from different countries doing bullshit stuff that I used to do.
Yeah.
And, you know, they couldn't understand that I have an allergy. I said, I don't even call it addiction anymore. I have an allergy.
Yeah.
When I take a chemical, I can no longer guarantee my behavior.
Yeah.
So
and mate, I think once you cook a vice, like once you've used a vice, in any vice in a dysfunctional way, mate, you can never use it again. Like some people do to a degree, but with like real control, and it's like fuck that, you know. Like, man, I tried that sort of, you know, controlled drinking stuff, but that was a punish. I did it for 8 years, mate. It's way easier just not for me not to drink.
I find recovery really easy.
Yeah, me too. Mate, fucking using drugs is hard, bro. I didn't realize the amount of money I used to spend, mate. Like when I got clean this time, mate, like, you know, 'cause I was full of shame. I didn't want to come around the boxing gym and stuff like that, you know, like I had affairs with my wife and all that, you know, so like all her friends hate me. So I just stayed away from the area for a bit. I was paying like $550 for an Airbnb in Byron Bay a week and stuff, and I only had like $300 to spend every week. And by the end of the week, I still had like a few bucks left over. I'm like, how the fuck does this happen? Like, mate, back when I was doing the PT and stuff like that, man, I'd make 3.5, 4 grand fucking personal training and stuff like that. But buy a couple of 8 balls on the weekend and stuff like that, you know, spend heaps of money on piss and shouting at everyone, and still have no money, you know, halfway through the week. You know, it's crazy. Okay, so like, mate, recovery is easy, mate. Recovery is easy, but fucking using drugs is fucking hard, and you got to be busy to supply it, you know.
I don't know how people have got time to get stoned. I haven't got time to fucking do anything in recovery. I just work and do what we're doing now, and time with my family, and I laugh.
Life's full, hey. Yeah, life's full. You know,
oh man, it's just so, and it is full. It's just full. So you went to a rehab first?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've done a lot of rehab, but yeah, I went to a rehab before. before I got clean, I was always one of those people, man. Could never get clean off the street, mate. You know, I'd have to either do it geographical for a bit or go in the rehab. Yeah.
So how long you been clean now, brother?
3 years, a couple of weeks ago.
Well, how cool.
Yeah, it's good, man. It's good.
That's beautiful.
It's good. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they say to you, it gets better.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
Oh, 100%. I've noticed that, like, every year that's gone past, like, mate, like, I just can't believe what I've got in my life now, mate. I've got this beautiful relationship with my kids. I'm emotionally available for my fucking children. I completely fucking changed the way I've raised them and stuff like, particularly in the last year. And, you know, and like, you know, I've got two, you know, two amazing businesses that both go well. I've got 23 staff that I treat fucking really well and they treat me really well. And, you know, and you know, and I get to do the work that I absolutely fucking love. I'm in a really beautiful, conscious relationship with, you know, a loving woman that's also in recovery and stuff. And, you know, and just to be able to like, just to be able to sort of like, you know, do life the way I get to do it today, you know, it's just incredible, man. I think that one of my mentors told me once, man, you can have anything you want, but you can't have drugs, you know? And if you choose the drugs, you can have the drugs, but you can't have anything else, you know. And I'm like,
give up one thing to gain everything.
Yeah,
lose everything for one thing.
So true. And I need to be told like things simplistically like that, because the shit that actually really fucking sinks in for me is just the real simple stuff. So when I got told that, I was like, yeah, fuck, it's that simple. Like, you know, what I've got to do is fucking every day just focus on, you know, doing things for myself to show myself that I fucking love and appreciate and care for myself and not take a drug, you know, or a drink. It's that simple.
I had an old guy out of AA. He was just a mate. I used to call him like my grand advisor.
Yeah.
And he was 64 years sober when he died.
Yeah.
And he used to say to me all the time, you know, he used to call me kid. You know, I'm 68. He used to call me kid, you know?
Yeah.
He used to say, the secret to recovery, kid's acceptance. Except you can't have a drink and have a good life, he said, and you'll be sweet.
Yeah.
He said to me all the time, he said, this guy was town drunk. He ended up the mayor of the town and the chief of the newspaper. Went from being drunk to being the mayor. It's a fucking good story, you know what I mean? Like, and he said, you know, he used to walk around. There was a butcher shop in the middle of where he lived, Cootamundra. He used to walk right around the whole block to get to the news agents, to the newspaper company, because the butcher used to yell out, hey, you fucking drunk, and bag him.
Yeah.
He said, and when I was the mayor, he'd yell out, no, how you going, Andy? He said, I never forgot that piece of shit. He is funny old guy. I never forgot him. He said, I forgave him, but I never forgot him. He said, he said, I was still the drunk, but I was now the mayor and the drunk.
When I got out of rehab, you know, and like my story came out and people realized that I put needles in my arm since I was a kid and stuff, I lost all credibility, man. Like, man, people used to forget that I used to do these, you know, live boxing events on like Foxtel and ESPN, have like fucking manage fucking 50, 100 staff and fucking, you know, and get these big fucking events that went all over the world in Australia. And mate, all of a sudden, it's like I forget I was capable of doing all that. People from across the street that did dig trenches and stuff like that. No, there's anything wrong with that, but like you know, but they're giving me life advice now because I've just lost all my credibility. You know, you put it, you know, once you put a needle in your arm, mate, people, it's like they can't respect you. It's like it's like fuck.
Yeah, I say you never had a lobotomy, mate.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. You know, I never had a lobotomy. I was a very successful human being. I fucked up now and come back and I'm going to be more successful. Because now I've got a clearer mind. I have a direction. I have information, which is power. Terry Packer told me that. He said, information is power, Ronnie. He said, what do you think I own newspapers for?
Yeah.
What do you think I own TV stations and newspapers? He said, I've got all the money in the world.
Yeah.
He said, but what I want is information. He said, the more information I've got, the more power I've got. And that's why what you're doing now is we're teaching people. We're teachers. That's what we are. We're teachers. We're teaching people that, hey, you don't have to have this way of life. It's a choice. Because I didn't know I had a choice. I thought I was going to die a junkie with a needle in my arm. And I resigned myself to that fact. Now I know I'm not going to die a junkie. Mate, I'll put a gun and blow my fucking head off before I go back to being a using addict. That's how convicted. That's how strong I am.
Well, that's what got me clean this time too, man. Because that was the choice. Like, I knew that if I didn't get clean this time, mate, I was going to knock myself, mate.
Yeah.
You know, like, I just got so sick of my shit. You know, so fucking to be fucking back in rehab again, fucking 3 years ago, like fucking and like create this fucking amazing life, or was on the outside world was fucking appeared amazing. And I could still sabotage it. These days, I'll do everything so fucking rigidly. You be in a self-loving way, but I do things so rigidly today.
You've got to
like,
have discipline.
Yeah, it was discipline, but I just don't. I don't ever want to fucking feel that level of despair again. You know, it's so fresh in my mind.
My wife does all my work, and she says to me, "Oh, we're doing a podcast with someone, but they want to do it at 4 o'clock in the morning our time because we're in America or they're in London or somewhere." I say, "Sweet."
Yeah.
But honey, sure, it's sweet. We get a phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning, someone cooked. I answer the phone. She goes, "Turn your fucking phone off." I said, "I can't."
Yeah. Mate, my partner spins out with that too. I mean, you know, like when people call because like, you know, they'll call the rehab landline, you know, and after hours it gets diverted to my mobile, you know, and mate, so like, you mate, when people need help, mate, they don't go, "Mate, I'll wait the business hours and then I'll fucking give them a call for it." When they're desperate, and man, I love that stuff, and I love being available for those people in those times.
So you've got a rehab now?
Yeah. I got a beautiful
plug.
It's called Hope in Health. It's Hope in Health. It's a holistic treatment centre in northern New South Wales, and you know, and mate, you know, like I could sound biased because it's my place, but you know, something really special happens in that place. You know, it's a real healing environment. We focus on somatic healing, and you know, we specifically work through with trauma and PTSD and stuff. So yeah, jump on our website www.hopeinhealth.com.au and give us a look. And if you inquire on there and you know, you leave your number through the email, it'll be me personally give you a call, and I can chat through it.
Yeah, cool, man. I'll check it out. I'm coming down to Byron for the convention next month.
Yeah, beautiful, man. Well, let me know, man. We'll catch up. We'll definitely catch up.
Sure. Really, really nice talking to you. It's been simple, you know, it goes so quick. You know, I always go, "Oh, it's 40 minutes, you know," and sometimes, you know, they're 40 minutes, and sometimes, you know, with you, you know, it's just on an hour and it's perfect. It's beautiful. But mate, stay in contact. I just wrote this.
Yeah, nice.
Born to the lie of crime, not the life, the lie.
Yeah, nice.
It is a lie.
Yeah.
You know, all that Chines, mate, fucking brother, all that bullshit. I mean, I've only got one friend that I've had for 40 years. Recovery with me.
Yeah,
and he's my brother.
Nice.
You know, when I relapsed, he used to come up every week to the cross and say, "You had enough?" I'd say, "Not yet." He'd say, "In a week." He'd come back in a week and say, "You had enough?" And in the end, I said, "Yes." The car, let's go. I'll take you to detox.
Beautiful, man.
You know what I mean?
Beautiful.
44 years. We used together. Godfather to my 40-year-old twin daughters. I've got nothing gangster mates that fucking loyal to me, mate. Recovery is such a journey, man, honestly. And as I said, I'm nearly 38 years clean. I just didn't think it could get any better, and it does. Every year gets better. You know, so amazing, if you've got 3 years, 30 years is going to be like, "What the fuck was he talking about?" Seriously, it will. You'll be like, "What the hell?" Because it becomes a spiritual journey. It's no longer. Physical part's gone. I own everything physically that I could ever want. Don't get me wrong. I never got clean to sleep in the park. I like material things. They don't govern my life. I like earning money. I work hard. They don't change the way I feel. Changing the way I feel is doing what we're doing right now, talking to another human being. Piss off the addict label. It's a couple of human beings that made a couple of mistakes. Big fucking deal. I always say, and I'll finish on this. I say to people when people are judging us, next time you're praying, pray for me so I can be perfect like you. You know what I mean? Next time you're praying, you pray for me so I can be fucking perfect like you.
Let the people that live in the glass house cast the first stone.
Exactly, mate. You know, I know that you're doing good stuff, mate, and that's why I wanted you on.
And I appreciate that, man. Like, I've listened to a couple of your podcasts before, man. I felt really honored when you asked me, man. So thank you. Thank you.
I really appreciate you coming on, mate, and we'll stay in touch, eh?
We will do, man. Let me know when you're in Byron. We'll catch up for sure.
100%.
All right. Take care,
Yeah,
brother.
mate. Cheers,
Talk to you
mate.
soon.
I solemnly swear that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.